Welcome, ladies and gentlemen.
Let's get started.
Straight from New York, yo, this handsome man,
You
yo.
are now tuned in to Aljo the Funk Master. Watch your grill, you'll get knocked out cold fast. And talking shit, now we talking facts. Whether mount or off the back, you in trouble, came to burst your bubble. I don't shelter punches, they find home on your mind about the double. This the weekly scraps. You don't need a map, GPS, I'm right here to lead it that. The world doesn't know it needs, but I grow the seeds, planting fuck a name and the fame. Only legacy remains. Remember the name, Aljamain Sterling.
It ain't shit,
Motherfuckers.
What's up, guys? Welcome back to the weekly scraps episode UFC 259. All right, not episode UFC 259, but you guys get the point. We have a big fight week coming up. Obviously, yours truly will be on the card. Super excited about the opportunity. And I know I didn't do a podcast last week, but for just reasons I would like to think in terms of training, getting the body right, ready to go, prepped and ready. And I want to make sure I gave you guys an inside look on how things have been going thus far leading up to this title fight. Again, 1 week out. Well, not even a couple of days now at this point, about 6 days. Today is Monday. Training's been going well. Last week I didn't really do any sparring. I did more of like a touch flow kind of sparring session kind of thing, and just kind of really getting the reps in and just trying to feel good and comfortable in each situation and some of the combinations that Jan likes to throw and things like that, with a couple of surprise elements because sometimes he tends to do spinning elbows or kicks and things like that. So just making sure we're keeping ourselves honest, staying safe, making sure we can get to the fight and have as least amount of injuries as possible walking into that octagon, because that's just the way the fight game goes, you know? So training's been going well. Super pumped with how everything has went. I can't say there's anything that I could have done better. Maybe later I probably will think of something, but as of right now, things have been great. Super happy about it, you know? And to finally be here is pretty unreal. Just a couple of days away, a couple more pounds away to lose, and to be making this run again, it's kind of an emotional roller coaster, but you gotta try to just dial it in and keep it in perspective, you know? And I think that's what I've been trying to do this entire time. And man, when Bruce Buffer announced that this is for the UFC world title, that's gonna be insane. I can't even put that into words. Like trying to visualize it and trying to see what that feeling's gonna be like. I don't know. It's gonna be crazy, but I can't wait for that opportunity. We did a couple of training sessions. We did a little photo shoot with Burn Lab Pro, so weight loss company, thermogenic stuff. We worked with those guys, did some content for them. Did a little bit of content for the UFC Embedded, and there was one more thing we did, content for Trojan Condoms brand. So we did a bunch of content stuff, banging out a lot of media, just so that this week would be extremely light and extremely easier, as easy as it can be while I'm cutting weight, you know, in terms of the last final pounds. Because, yeah, I was dieting and all that, but not as much as I'm going to be doing this week, where I'm going to be really dehydrating myself to get to that optimal point where I can hit those levels of where I want to be. With that being said, we did some, not much jiu-jitsu sessions, but we did, that touch flow sparring thing was about 55 minutes, an hour long in terms of the warm-up all the way through the entire session, finishing up, shedding a couple pounds. Ray just got in, Al just got in last week as well. And it's good to have everybody here. It feels like a piece of Long Island is here in Las Vegas. It feels like home. And I said that. It's like, are we in Long Island or are we in Vegas right now? So it's pretty cool to have like people that feel like family around with you for the support and everything like that. So it's this is a very special moment in my life. I'm just trying to embrace everything, take it all in. You know, I got a bunch of people coming out asking me where they can watch the fights. I'm like, dude, check the UFC website, or if you want, you can watch at my house. As long as you guys don't come here running amok Take your shoes off at the door and don't go crazy. You know, don't go breaking shit, spilling stuff on my couch, because then I would have to give you the boot through somebody else while I'm in the back room at the venue. Get him out of here. Get him out of here. But other than that, training's been good. Hitting pads in the garage. I got a training session today. I woke up, my weight was, yesterday I was 149.3. Today I was 148. That was Sunday. And today's Monday, 148.8. Gonna get a grappling session in. It'll be about an hour long. I expect to lose like 2.5, 3 pounds today doing that. Just drilling, maybe a little bit alive. See how I feel towards the end of it, and go about it like that. This is just crazy. It's a culmination of 10 years to get here, a decade, and you know, some people got the fast track. They got there really quick to get their title shot. Where, you know, when you have to work, you get to a point where you're like right there knocking on the door, you get knocked down and you come back up again. I think there's something to be said about that, and I think that's one of the things that's gonna help me going into this fight. So, either way, I'm here, and we gotta seize the day, carpe diem. So let's just talk about the fight card from last week, and I don't know if you guys recognize my special case coming for that ass. You guys could go get that on my website, aljamainsterling.com. Go check it out. Cyril Gane versus Rosenstruck, the very lackluster main event, but I will say Gane did what he had to do to win. Rosenstruck didn't really seem like he wanted to pull the trigger for whatever reason. I know obviously Gane is a big dude, but you're down 3 rounds, 4 rounds, 5 rounds. It's got to be a point in time where your coach is like, dude, you got to sit down and bite on your mouthpiece and throw something. Like, throw caution into the wind. We got to connect. Kind of think about the Overeem fight where you're down on the scorecards. You come back with a couple seconds left in the 5th round. You drop them, and a ref manages to stop the fight. You got to think about those moments because it wasn't looking good for him pretty much from beginning to end. I don't think there's any real moments of real concern for Cyril Gane while he was in there. I mean, he might have exploded like 2 or 3 times that looked like it was close to connecting, but Gane did a good job of covering it up, protecting himself. Moves to 8-0. He's a big heavyweight, not a ton of fight experience, but the guy's clean and he knows how to win. He doesn't, he could have made it a little bit more exciting, going for the kill a little bit more, but at the same time, knowing a guy like Biggie Boy, he didn't want to take those chances, and rightfully so. I think it takes 2 to tango, and you need the other guy to do something, offer some type of offense so that the fight can really get going. And every time Rosenstruck tried to open up, I noticed that Gane was trying to slip underneath and tie him up, push him against the cage, and slow down the fight. So good defense from Rosenstruck trying to keep the fight upright. Gane looked decent in trying to get the fight to the ground, but you could tell he looked like he knew how to nullify a guy who's coming forward with very good offense and slowing him down. So I was impressed with that. I don't know what's going to be next for him, but he's in a position where he could be 1-1 away from fighting for a UFC heavyweight world title. Next up, Ankalaev versus Nikita Krylov. That was a good fight. I thought very competitive until Ankalaev started to pull away with his strikes and his combinations. Beginning, Nikita looked like he was the better grappler, and Ankalaev looked like he was having some trouble keeping him off of him. And I know he was a better wrestler, but Nikita was the one pushing the pace in the 1st round. It looked like it was 1-1 going into the 3rd, where Ankalaev started to pull away and finally really start to show like he was clearly the better fighter in there. You know, so that's what I gathered from that. It was a more competitive fight than I thought it would be, but the Krylov is there for a reason. Good grappler. He had some competent striking, and he seemed like he was just very aware of where he was on the feet and not giving up too much ground. And every time he could, he would close the distance and try to tie up Ankalaev whenever he could. Now, I think for Ankalaev, that's like his 5th or 6th win in a row, light heavyweight in the UFC. Let's see. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 6 wins in a row. 2 of them coming against Iwan Kudalaba. So I think it's time for a big step up for that guy, and he should be making. He already made a big splash in that division. I think it's time for him to really get another step up in looking at that top 5 pitcher and potentially asserting himself for a title shot at that weight class. Tough dude, man. Hits hard, good wrestler, and he's dangerous. You know, his grappling's not the greatest from what I'm seeing, but his wrestling is top notch. Top notch. He hits hard, like I said, explosive, and good combinations on the feet. Pedro Munhoz versus Jimmy Rivera. Crazy fight. So Rivera won the first fight, split decision. This one's a rematch about 5-6 years in the making. And it's crazy to see the growth between both fighters. Pedro's style has completely changed, and his approach, he's just so much more dangerous, because before he was fighting, he was a dangerous guy, good submissions, but now he's like, with the calf kicks implemented, the front kicks implemented, and now his boxing game all tightened up, it makes him that much more of a dangerous opponent whenever he steps in there. So I wasn't sure who was going to win this fight. I couldn't tell who was more motivated. Both guys coming off, well, Rivera coming off of a big win over Cody Stamann, and then the loss to Frankie Edgar for Pedro Munhoz. I wasn't sure how was that going to affect both guys in terms of the motivation factor. I know Pedro's tough. We know he's durable. We know he hits hard. Not the fastest guy. Rivera has faster hands. But like I said, I think Pedro's dangerous with those calf kicks, and he got off on those kicks early in that fight. Like, I think he ripped off like 3 kicks in the first like 20 seconds to get that fight going, and that showed what his game plan was right out of the gate. They got fighted tonight, and rightfully so. Like I said, back and forth, they delivered. There was a couple moments I thought Pedro was going to get him out of there, but Rivera's a tough dude. He managed to get back in the fight whenever Pedro started to pick up on that he was hurting Rivera. Rivera would just sit down on his and bite down on his mouthpiece, sit in his stance, and just unload some shots, just trying to time Pedro coming in and making him respect that, hey man, we're still in a fist fight, and my leg may be compromised, but I'm still going to bomb on you if you think you're going to just get too close and put me away with leg kicks, with calf kicks. And it was close. I really would like to know what happened with them going into the hospital in terms of that compartmental syndrome, something like that, where there's just so much swelling in the leg, they have to cut it to relieve the pressure, which is pretty scary stuff. Austin Hubbard had that happen to his leg. I would imagine Rivera's leg was probably pretty beat up as well. So I don't know. I mean, he stumbled a couple times, looked like he was about to, I think he fell a couple times as well. So it could be a potential situation like that, but I didn't see any follow-up on it. So maybe he was just good and he didn't have to deal with any of that extra baggage of having to do all that extra work in the hospital. Hopefully not. Obviously, no one wants to deal with big injuries like that. But other than that, good fight. I don't know what's next for Pedro. That was like an 8 versus 9. He mentioned someone he beat, who he knocked down in the first round, being ranked higher than him and him not understanding how the rankings work. And I agree with him. I don't get that either. And the guy beat Rafael Sunsao, and obviously you know who I'm talking about, Cody Garbrandt. And he got jolted back up the rankings. And I get it, Sunsao was ranked high, but there should have been a shift in where everything was. Just because Sunsao beat Pedro and Pedro beat Garbrandt, Sunsao is ahead. But times have changed. That was like his debut fight against Rafael Sunsao, 2014. That's when I made my debut. We made our debut on the same night. So, like I said, I think the rankings are a little bit weird in that sense. I don't know who's really making them and what criteria they're using. But I think Pedro should be higher than what he is. Obviously, behind Frankie, in my opinion, should be higher than Garbrandt and a Sunsao. So I think Pedro should fall in line in between one of those. Other than that, that was a really good fight for the bantamweight division, and it just shows how talented everybody is. Everyone's dangerous in that top 10, top 15. And there's even guys outside of that top 15 that are super good as well. And they're coming up. Next fight, Alex Caceres. I thought he looked very good against Chrome. Thiago Moises, he looked good against Alex Hernandez, and Alexis Davis looked really good as well. Ronnie Lawrence, this kid made his debut bantamweight. I thought he looked really, really tough for a UFC bantamweight debut. Not even bantamweight, for a UFC debut in general, for this guy to come in and do what he did. It was very impressive in the sense of he might be a little green in some areas, but it showed a lot of promise for the future, and I think he can be a serious contender with his skill set that he's shown. He showed a little vulnerability in some positions, but his grappling is A1 and his transitions were A1. Defensively, he got attacked with a couple submission attempts. He made the right decisions, getting out of there, turning the right way, and I think he could be a good player in this division as well. Now, with that being said, we'll move on to UFC 259 because I'm about to go work out in a little bit, so we're going to get this going. We got Jan Błachowicz versus Israel Adesanya. This is a tough fight. There's a lot of these fights I can't call. Amanda Nunes versus Megan Anderson. Myself versus Petr Yan. Islam Makhachev versus Drew Dober. Thiago Santos versus Rakic. Dominic Cruz versus Casey Kenny. Kyler Phillips versus Song Yadong. Askarov versus Benavidez. Kai Kara-France versus Bontorin. Man, this card is honestly stacked. Sean Brady versus Jake Matthews. Alon Cruz versus Medic. Undefeated prospect he's fighting. Trevin Jones versus Mario Batista. So from top to bottom, this is a great card. A lot of fun matchups. The one thing I will say in my matchup with Petr Yan, I've always talked about this openly. I think he's a little flat-footed, but sometimes he opens up with the movement. He does good switching his stances into his southpaw, then back into the orthodox stance. He's good in the clinch. He's good at timing elbows in the clinch. He hits good foot sweeps in the clinch. He seems to have a good scramble ability on the ground. He kind of does some flips and rolls and stuff, which could be a little tricky to deal with if you're not knowing what to expect or expecting that your opponent is going to roll, flip, and do all that kind of stuff. He's good in those situations, and I think he brings some trouble. He's durable. We know he's got good defense. He does like the shell defense where people will punch him, he'll cover, tuck the elbows, and it's hard to get through. Kind of like a Pedro Munhoz where you're just touching, but then he's waiting. He times one, he'll slip, rip, come over the top with 2, 3, 4 punches, or maybe even a knee or a kick. So I just got to make sure I'm being very aware of where I'm at, playing the game of chess, and seeing where I can exploit his thinking with mine and just get better reads to get inside and get him where I want the fight to be ultimately. I mean, I could strike with him, but at the end of the day, it's like, why even play that game and give him a better chance of winning the fight, you know? So, you know, when I have to strike, I will strike, and when I can get the fight to the ground, I will look to get the fight to the ground. So, other than that, it's really all I got, man. Short podcast, like I said. Shout out to my sponsors, all the people out there, Sleepy Bear, Gummies.com. Check those guys out. Funkmaster discount code for 20% off. Everlast, Team Everlast, baby, always. Who else do we have? We have Trojan Condom Brands and Burnlab Pro. Go check those guys out. So far, so good. Feel good, motivated. Long Island, thank you guys for all the love and support. Funk Bandits, thank you guys for all the love and support. We're finally here. We made a run, and let's make the most of this thing. Let's make the most of this thing and try to cement ourselves in history as best as we can. Let's go. Thank you guys for the love. As always, if you like my shit, subscribe to my shit or spin it back fist, baby. I'll see you guys in a couple of days. And I plan to bring a nice, shiny, new belt. Peace.